Aloha, everyone. It's Wednesday, and that means it's news day. And on this news day, what adventures in the AI realm must the DAS Fellowship face this week? Under the aurora of the Kingdom of Soda, the DAS Fellowship reached the scriptorum of Anthropic. Claude's lantern flared as the Keeper announced a new power: search past chats. A light that finds answers in your own history with summons only recall and tight privacy wards. The city shook as brass wardens raised their banners from DARPA's AI Cyber Challenge, and the heralds cried transition to widespread use. A contest forged scanner and patching sigils would now march into real networks, guarding grids and roads through partnerships and open tools. At the Guild of Letters, AI polished missives drifted over desks. AI written emails are eroding trust at work, Andy says. Readers hear them as less sincere, even when the message is sound. A rift leaders must bridge with clarity and disclosure. Then Brian saw it, the fellowship's cryptic symbol, half key, half lock, watermarking lanterns light, ward, and letter. It pulsed, the wardens answered, and the stacks rustled. Connection, Carl breathed, or control. Bells tolled thrice, and the lanterns went dark. It is August 13th, 2025, and this is episode 528. Today, we have Andy, Beth, Brian, and Carl. And I am Junmi, and this is the Daily AI Show. Thank you, everyone, for joining the live stream, and to all of you who are watching just a little later. If you haven't already, click the bell, like, subscribe, and join the newsletter at thedailyAIshow.com. Okay, everyone, let's do a quick lightning round of stories from everyone before we dive into this week's news adventure. So, Andy, kick us off. What do you got?
Okay, I've got the T in the combat between Sam Altman and Elon Musk. So I'm going to lead off with that one. So the Grok app is fifth on the Apple Store, right? And ChatGPT is always among the AI assistants. It's number one. Now, we've talked extensively about how and why ChatGPT has become the runaway leader, despite it having, similar features and functions to many others out there. But when you have that kind of initial mover advantage, it's very hard to overcome that. Oh, but Elon says no. That's because Apple is somehow manipulating things so that only OpenAI can get downloads from the Apple App Store. Well, so he threatened to take legal action against Apple because he says that they're pushing OpenAI's products and suppressing Grok. And so then Sam Altman, he did this announcement about his pending legal action against Apple for crippling Grok and favoring OpenAI's ChatGPT. And so he says it's impossible for any company besides OpenAI to reach number one in the App Store. And then Sam Altman said, well, DeepSeek and Perplexity both reached number one on the App Store. What? And then somehow in the exchange on X, Grok was actually tagged in and said, Sam Altman is right, and noted Musk's documented history of directing algorithm changes to favor his own interests. So thank you, Grok. And so this goes on. And by the way, not to reinforce Elon's position too heavily, but Apple announced that it will add GPT-5 to iOS 26 this month. So it's coming out that they're going to integrate ChatGPT-5 into the Apple intelligence ecosystem.
Which, I mean, should be good. I mean, somebody was just telling me on LinkedIn, responding to one of my posts, that they said they really like voice mode on GPT-5. That's actually one thing I haven't tested, but I could see why that would be something you would want to have in iOS 26. I'd like him to say, surprise, we replace Siri with voice mode from GPT-5. That would be even better. But I guess we'll take this.
So, Brian, what's your lightning round story for us?
All right, I will keep this lightning round. Google gets an astounding $34.5 billion offer from Chrome browser AI startup Perplexity. What is Perplexity doing? They're only valued at 18 billion, and all they said was they've got investors lined up in case Google wants to part ways with their Chrome. So this was, it says it a surprise move. I'm sure this is mostly about getting the attention. I'm literally talking about it on a show, so I'm sure that's more about what it is. But I don't know. I don't have much more to offer there.
Well, I can add some context. It's not that Google wants to get rid of Chrome.
Right.
They may be forced to sell it by
right.
antitrust regulation by the government. Okay,
so Perplexity is saying, hey,
stepping up and saying, we'll do it.
We'll do it
and
for
we'll
you.
do it cooperatively with Google, right? We'll work with you. We're going to keep Chromium as an open source. You know, we'll work closely with you, Google, but it'll actually be a Perplexity product.
I mean, okay. I guess we'll see where this goes. I mean, maybe
Chrome will be
maybe it's crazy.
So remember, they also
I don't know.
Perplexity is pretty masterful at getting the attention around these things. Remember, they made an offer to buy TikTok.
Right. Yeah.
You know, because TikTok was going to be closed. They said, "Well, wait, we're an American company. We'll operate TikTok, and you know, I would trust Perplexity to run TikTok." And then they were rumored to be an acquisition target by Apple, but that seemed to vaporize pretty quickly. And it was also noted in the news long ago that when Meta was making their sort of grab of talent, they were also in consideration of acquiring Perplexity to add to their portfolio of AI systems.
Somebody should acquire Perplexity. That would be my take on that. It would advance somebody very, very quickly. I don't know if that's like an Edge or Chrome, or I don't think Chrome needs them. Edge could use them. Apple products like Safari, perhaps, and stuff like that. It would significantly advance them if they're able to roll that in. I do love, and the last thing I'll say on this, Jimmy, is that, and I guess this was going to be any terms of a letter, but it instructed the CEO of Google, look, we're going to need an answer back by no later than 6 p.m. Pacific on the 15th. So I know this is probably just formality, but I love the idea that on top of putting this out there to Google and sending this letter, it's also like, we're going to need an answer by Friday because we got big things going on at Perplexity. We ain't got time to be holding on to whether you will or won't Google. So if Alphabet, if you could just get back to us in 4 days about this $34 billion buyout, that would be great for us, I guess. So anyway, there's, like Andy is pointing out, there's much more to this probably to uncover the onion or unpeel the onion, but I wanted to keep it fast for your quick fire here.
Carl, what do you got for the lightning round?
Walmart unveils plans for a new wave of AI-powered tools. I thought it was funny because I didn't even I go to Walmart because we have a Walmart close to us, but I don't relatively use their site. But they have, I don't know if anyone uses Sparky, an AI shopping agent. They're going to remove the search bar, and it's designed to assist with grocery shopping and product research. But they also have 3 other ones. They expect, actually, the CTO said, we expect that the search bar in conventional wave searching will be replaced by multimodal interface in Sparky. You can give it a high-level task saying, I just moved into a new apartment. I'm looking to furnish the entire apartment with this budget, this color, and Sparky will come back and give you the entire selection. And then there's also 3 other agents called Marty for suppliers and advertisers, an associate agent for employees, and a developer agent for building systems. The reason why I put this story is I'm curious if people will actually use this, or is this something that everyone's jumping on AI, so we should jump on AI versus, hey, did you do any customer research? Did you just add it? Why do you have stupid names? but that's just me. And then
I
like,
think the customer research would have gotten answers like, "What's AI?"
yes, exactly. And but also I want to search for something, but now I have to use Sparky. And God, I'm gonna hate. I was like, there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna hate Sparky.
Well, don't forget.
Why don't you just give me back my search? I just want to search for bananas, and now you're giving me like. I was like, okay, this is not. And
I agree. Taking it away is dumb. I wouldn't take it away. I would not take away the search bar. Amazon, and I just went on Amazon to check this because I could not remember the name because I don't use it. But Amazon has Rufus. Does anybody use Rufus?
I don't.
It's
Rufus. I didn't know it existed. Sorry, I use Amazon daily.
It's not pushed on you on Amazon, but if you go to Amazon in the search, you have your search bar, but you also have Rufus. At least on mine, it's on the left side of the screen. And Rufus is like you can just ask general, Gen AI type questions to it, just like you're saying, Carl. So, I mean, these things exist out there, although Rufus does say beta underneath it, and it has not removed the search bar at all. So I mean, that sounds crazy to me. If Walmart's like, we're going all in on Sparky.
But so, okay. Do you all remember when social was taking off and everybody, I think The Office had a thing on this where you're like, it's a paper company, but we have a social platform where people can talk about paper or whatever that was. It's like, it feels the same here where it's like, why do you need an AI on your thing on whatever platform you have? But because it's so big, I was like, no, most people just close that stuff. Like they just turn it off because they're used to doing and no one that whole thing of, yeah, you could do it, but did anyone ask if you should do it? And here I'm thinking like what and if we're talking about agents, then it's like, I'm just going to have my agent go into Walmart and not use Walmart's agent to do it for me. That doesn't make any sense. So that's what I mean. It's kind of interesting that Walmart went down that route. And it's not just Walmart. I'm sure there's other companies like Amazon or whoever doing the same thing.
Right. So Beth, your lightning round story, what do you got?
So I will merge with the last lightning round in that OpenAI is in talks to back Merge Labs, which is a brain-computer interface. So the entire idea of needing to type search or talk search may be going away because now you may just be able to think about something. And it is in direct competition with Neuralink. They're in talks, but it seems like this is an idea that Sam has had for a while. He actually wrote a blog post in 2017 titled The Merge, and talking about the trends toward brain-machine interfaces. And honestly, they have not said whether this will be invasive or not, but anytime Sam and Elon arrive on the same basketball court, it's going to be a hell of a dirty game. So, and I don't mean dirty like illegal, I mean dirty like basketball. They're definitely shoving each other while they're trying to get the ball in the basket. So I think that's really interesting. I think everybody else has come out with something that looks to be more brain computer interface in terms of like, did Meta have something you could wear on your wrist? So it's interesting to see what they will come out with.
Awesome. And I'll wrap up the round with a story from Hawaii. HECO, the Hawaiian Electric Company, has built out a network of AI-powered wildfire detection cameras. So on some of the islands, we've heard over the last few years, there's been some wildfires. They've been caused by electrical lines. And so in response, the electric company built out an entire network of cameras to watch over all the particularly like drier areas in Hawaii. This program's on the Big Island of Hawaii, and essentially what the AI component of it is to be able to identify when there's any semblance of smoke. So now that they have full coverage, hopefully this will reduce the amount of massive wildfires that are happening in the area. All right, that wraps up the lightning round for everybody. Now it's time for your stories of fiery passion. So who wants to go first? What is one story that you really need to talk about this week?
You know what? I'll go because I think I really like what Anthropic did with the Claude search and being able to search previous topics. And I think that's whether it's Claude, OpenAI, and I'm sure other like Google will probably do it and so on. I think it's the more and more I've used it and I've been doing more with it in ChatGPT, which I couldn't do in Claude, which is unfortunate because there's some things I wanted to refer back to. Instead of me having to search, like use the search bar and try to find certain things that I was looking for. It isn't just that too. It's I don't know if how all of you are finding this, but I'm finding if I'm doing I think I talked about this in something else in a post that I did where if you are you're working on you have your AI, right? Whether it's whatever platform you use, whatever it is, you have it and it's building context and it's building experience along with you, right? The more you use it, all the threads and the chats and it's remembering everything that you're doing. I think the when you move, or let's say, for example, and maybe this is part of the conversation on Friday when, and I don't think it has to do with the memory, but it kind of has to do with it. You have the context, you have the experience. And so let's say you're a typical job searcher. Hey, you want to move to a new job. Now that company, it would behoove them not to bring your AI along with them because of all the work that you've done with your AI, right? All the experience, all the executions, all the strategies, everything that you've done, your quote unquote system or like, I don't know, environment, ecosystem, there's experience there as well. So I was thinking that more and more, what happens if, you want to move company to company to company and the company says, no, you can't use your AI. You have to use our AI, like our system. Let's say Claude for Teams, whatever that is. But you're starting from scratch again. Their AI does not have the context, does not have the experience that you do, like that you have with your system, which then the company would kind of gain only half of you, I guess, as you use it more and more. But then I also thought it from the other side too, is if the company, let's say, gives Beth, Beth's been with the company for 5 years, has used, their Claude for Teams for 5 years, built up so much experience and context, right? So Beth now leaves and goes on to somewhere else. Now let's say Andy comes in and Andy's like, oh, does the company give Andy his own brand new account? Wouldn't it be beneficial to have them use Beth's system as well, because it has some of the context and experience that Beth has, that Beth left behind, and Beth did some amazing work. So wouldn't you want to go, take that further and have the AI have learned everything and also use Andy's leverage, Andy's knowledge? But then I thought, wait a minute, what happens to Beth? Beth's like, hey, the work I did here, I want to take it to the next place because that company not just wants me, but all my experience too. So anyway, I thought that was a cool kind of starting point for discussion. And, we're not too many people don't have that context experience of working with AI, obviously, but we're going to kind of that space where, hey, that's a question, and I don't know if we have the infrastructure in the work environment to set that up, or where that's going.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and I'm not certain about what the various models are capable of retaining at this point. I don't have the personal experience that any one of the systems I use, including GenSpark, which is really kind of a personal assistant for me, it does not retain context from prior chats. So, and it won't even, it doesn't even have the ability to go search those. So which models that you're using right now, Carl, actually can begin to retain this experience base that you're talking about?
The only one that has that is ChatGPT, and that's because part of the features of a pro account is that memory feature. And I'm thinking that's more and more and more useful because I'm referencing so many different projects. But literally, I can say, hey, do you remember the project we did with this company? And let's say the discovery session we did there? This, I think it applies to this company. And can you give me similarities? And it's like, yes, there is similarities.
That's cool. And that's the use case that I want. I want to be able to do that against all my chat history with the model. But I guess in a Plus account, that's not active. There is a memory. I can commit individual things to memory.
We get to search our previous chats. Plus gets to search previous chats too. I'm sure that it's better for Pro because that just seems to be the thing, right? Like you get a little taste and you don't get to go as far back. But OpenAI lets you export your chats, archive your chats, export your chats. So you could recreate something and you can edit the memories. Because I'm thinking that when Andy takes over my job, Andy prompts differently.
Right.
Yeah.
So he needs to go in and edit all the memories that have been made about the way that I like to interact, but potentially still have the context of all of the history of the projects that we've done and the IP that we've created and that kind of stuff as previous
Because
chats.
imagine if Andy was like, okay, they're working on a project with a current client. And then it's like, hey, how did Beth handle, or how did you handle this situation 3 years ago? Because it's coming up again. And then it would remember everything. Like, oh, we did this. And it's like, hey, can you apply that to a new solution? Or this is what we're working on. What could we do different? And then that. Because if Andy has a brand new account, there would be it would be starting fresh, right? Like I don't know if anybody's thinking about this at all, but like, wouldn't a company want everything that Beth has done? You can't.
Well, if we took this into an animation studio, right? We were talking about that with Brian's friend. We took it into an animation studio. Every doodle I ever make while I'm employed by them is their IP. So yes, I would think not only would they want it, but they would feel they were entitled to it.
Yeah. I think what this is going to be is, and we kind of touched base on this a couple of times. This is going to be a matter of, like you said, Beth, IP retention, but this is going to be a matter of institutional memory, right? There's going to have to be a process of your onboarding and offboarding that is going to have some ingestion period, where what work that you do for the company is extracted. Now that could just be atomization, going through, as in unstructured data, grabbing context and information out of that and stored in their own database. Some solutions might be you do only work with company work in the company environments. But then, you have to beg the question of what do I get out of my experience with it then? What do I get to keep out of the process? Yes, you have access to all the work that I've done with you, but I need to retain the experience and the information and the data for training my own AI and my own systems, so that I can move on to bigger and better things and whatnot. So I think there's going to be some conflict there.
I mean, this is why everybody should be building. I mean, there's no conflict. You can build your own portfolio. No, the company can't stop you from doing that. Yeah, sure. If I work for Pixar, like my buddies do, Dave and Jessica, yes, if they create something inside the walls of Pixar, maybe even at home on a home computer, I don't know how that works. That might belong to Pixar. However, Dave, as an animator, who I've known since I was a child, has a full portfolio that spans DreamWorks, Pixar, Blue Sky, M&M commercials earlier in his day. He still animated the Buzz Lightyear animatronic that you see when you go on the ride at Disneyland and Disney World, right? Like, he has a long history that spans multiple different companies. He just happens to be at Pixar today. So you can imagine, take that same idea, and if people are really doing what they should be, it's build a portfolio. Not only just build a portfolio that AI can understand. That becomes your plug and play when you move on to another company, just like your personal brand does. So when a company says, hey, we're willing to pay you more, Brian, because we can see you have an active audience on LinkedIn, we really like what you're doing. And just like this show, hopefully someday, if we have 100,000, 300 followers on this show, some company is going to go, Brian, we're willing to bring you on because you have the Daily AI Show. You talk about it every day. And at the bottom of my screen right now, it says scale.com, but it might say some other company someday. And that might be really valuable to this. This is part of my brand strategy, this show, just like it is for all of us. So, but if I build a portfolio that go with that AI understands, that is also valuable to the next company. Now, you may have to demonstrate how that's going to be valuable to them, but it shouldn't be that hard to do. And yeah, maybe you can't bring around, certain assets. That's understandable why a company might want to lock those down and say, hey, you can't transfer those to the next company, but you can build a portfolio. You can build your history. You can build your own RAG system today. You don't need to lean on OpenAI to do it. It's nice if it does it for you, but you're not required to. Andy's been doing it, for a long time. And you've been working on the idea of memory and sharing stories. My dad does this all the time through work and stuff. He's currently mentoring people at other airlines because my dad went through that experience. And now he's mentoring people who are moving up through their own paces and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. You can lean on OpenAI, I guess, but you can do it yourself.
Retention of corporate knowledge is a really interesting domain of exploration, and another $1 million idea that, our $1 billion idea, really, if we can build a system that respects the sort of the privacy and intellectual property rights of the company and the individual professional, and nonetheless retains and moves forward for the position occupied by a human in some period of time, moves that forward. I think that's really interesting. I think we should do a whole show on that, Carl. But I did a little test in the background here. So in my Plus account, I searched my chats, found a long list of chats that have reference to reinforcement learning. I picked one, and then in that chat, so I have a new thread that's there. It's loaded that into context. I said, okay, can you now add the embodied robotic AI self-improvement learning chat we had just last week to this thread? It said, sure, I will. And then it did a web search and brought in new information. It did not go and find the other chat history.
Right.
But I think that may be different. Are you experiencing that you can reference multiple prior interactions on a topic, like a specific approach in one of the companies?
Yeah. So, for example, this is what I would do. I go, I'm working on, what is it? Oh, I was working on, there's two processes that were very similar to clients. One was, it's both invoice comparison projects, just slightly different. And I was like, hey, remember our conversation with this company, and when we were doing invoice comparisons, we talked about this. This company, however, is similar, but this has this nuance. Can you give me the similarities and what are potential solutions based on what we talked about with this company? And it would be like, this is what we talked about with this company. Like, there
so
it is.
That's a distinction of the pro account.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
That's not available to us in the sort of the plus region.
But you can see how useful that is starting to be, right? Because if you can, now is it perfect? No, but how you can start pulling different things, my entire system becomes so much more valuable to me, and it's harder for me to leave because all the work is being done in there, versus I can't do that in Claude, I can't do that in Gemini, and I don't know what the extent of Claude can do that for. So that'll be interesting, but you can't. It's not even for pro users.
Let's bring it back to the news, which is, Claude has made a 1 million context window available now in their API, and that gives you a pretty long memory, if you will, for a single session, and that's been very useful for me when using Gemini Pro 2.5 Pro, because I can maintain a multi-session, multi-day, multi-week thread in Gemini that comprehends everything that we've talked about in that thread. And it takes about 5 to 10 days before I reach the limit of 1 million tokens. And then I have to start a whole new chat with it. But I can have it export what it has as a digest of all of the different topics and learnings that came about through that 1 million context window chat, and give that as a briefing to the new chat. But what we really all want is a more persistent memory across all of our professional efforts. And so thank you, Claude, for the 1 million context window. I find it really useful. But Gemini 2.5 Pro is my favorite companion in vibe coding right now because of that.
But Claude did release on Monday chat history. It's a thing.
Yeah,
that's the other news that came from Claude. But this week also they added 1 million context.
Yeah, no, I know they did both. But what I wanted to say is that, just so people are aware, it isn't the same as ChatGPT, and that's called out in the articles on it. Is that number one, you have to ask Claude to do it. Number two, it only came out in the Max, the team, and the enterprise, and it's going to be slowly rolling out to other ones. So I wouldn't have it per se. And number three, it's it will refer back to past chats, like you were saying, Andrew. It won't do what Carl is saying. So it is more of just basically a chat memory versus a, hey, let's bring this all together. So I just wanted to call that out, because that 1 million context is awesome. So is bringing in past chats. I mean, that alone is really impressive. But anyway, just wanted to bring that up as a
this is the important understanding of what can you actually do with these models, and they offer new features all the time. And Claude's made some big changes this week, and now I need to find the time to go back and play with Claude and play with the chat history search and what I can actually commit to memory in my ChatGPT Plus account, so that I have to resist paying the $200 a month needed to get to the Pro account.
I do feel eventually this feature, now I don't know based on inference and like compute what that would mean, and if they bring it to the Plus users, how much percentage of the Plus users will actually use it, right? Because like we saw the numbers on the reasoning, right? And then we saw, I can only imagine custom GPTs, Canvas, study and learn, all the other stuff that's in there. Like what's a percentage of people actually using any of those things outside of just general ChatGPT
queries,
right?
So give us
holy moly.
Right. They agree with you, Carl.
Exactly.
They do. The puppies agree
exactly.
with you. All right, I'll take this quick opportunity to to shift gears a little bit, and we'll cover a couple of quick Google stories, and then we'll circle back to Beth and her puppies. Really quick, Google's trying to defend AI overview, saying that no, it's not actually resulting in less web traffic. It's moving traffic. It's moving traffic from sites that had high traffic to sites that didn't have high traffic. And so that's their big defense for it. It's actually a good thing, and it's not going to destroy web search as we know it. But we'll see how that actually.
Okay, I have to build on that because there's an SEO. I don't know if you know anyone knows her. Her name is Lily Ray, and she was saying how the things that are coming up in AI overviews, you know how you just said, oh, we're moving traffic to places that didn't have traffic. She was saying how the places that you want to have the traffic, the well-respected sites, the big brands and so on, the answers that are coming back are from places that maybe don't have that authority, or in her opinion are untrustworthy or unreliable. So that's another thing too. It's like, okay, great, it's giving, like, it's showcasing some other places, but are those places actually trustworthy and reliable?
Well, here's the thing. So Google says that its AI overviews are focusing on authentic voices. So it accesses more videos and podcasts and forums, which highlights more of user-generated content as opposed to branded or institutional content. Now, is that good or bad? I think we're gonna have to see that play out, because anybody can say anything on the internet, and that doesn't necessarily mean that what they're saying is wrong, but it also doesn't mean what they're saying is correct either. So I'm not exactly sure how much of this is a balance, unless Google wants to lay out completely what their decision tree is in terms of what ranks information better, which we all know they'll never do, because that's been their model, to keep that secret for 20 something years. And the other Google story is there was a quiet update to Google Finance. They're now putting AI features into Google Finance so you can have better reports and things like that. Google Finance is supposed to be their product that takes on Yahoo Finance and other similar alpha signal type services and things like that. So while just a quiet update, we'll see if it actually pans out for anything, or if this is just Google Finance trying to make another move to keep relevance against larger competitors. Okay. I want to hear someone's passionate story. Brian, you got your burning passion story?
I don't know about passionate. I think it's interesting.
Okay.
Our buddy and yours, Leopold Aschenbrenner, who wrote Situational Awareness, close friend of the show, listens all the time. If you remember last year, he wrote a major sort of paper online called Situational Awareness. Well, he now has, among other things that he's doing in his early 20s, he now has a hedge fund called Situational Awareness LP. And I'm going to bring it up on screen here because it kind of made the news rounds over the last week. Did you guys talk about this last week? Am I bringing up something you already talked about? Okay.
No.
This I've heard of this news, and I'm really interested in it because he's taking a financial hedging bet against or towards investing in AI. So
yeah, he is. And so look, I think Carl, I'm not singling out Carl, but Carl, I know you talk more about finance and investments and stuff. And I would never claim to be super smart in this area. But from what I can gather here, if we just look at this website, and I kind of went to Whale Wisdom because I was kind of curious. I'm like, well, what's in the hedge fund? And as of right now, Intel is definitely the largest percentage. I mean, it's 45% of the portfolio.
Wow.
It kind of made the news because it had done well. It had beat the S&P by 500 by quite a bit. But also that could have been because Intel did well, right? I mean, there's a lot of things to it. But I think it's interesting, like, right? You can go in here and look for a situational awareness LP, which is the name of it, and see what is actually in that hedge fund. And of course, you could decide to use that for your for your own knowledge and what you might want to invest or not invest on. I'm certainly not giving any investment advice here at all. I also think it's funny down here when you look down at Marvel, and it was currently at like 34%, but then it was sold all of it. And so is this other one called, I didn't want to click on that, but Vertiv Holdings. But the reason I bring that up is if you actually kind of look at this, those were both like Q4 2024. It almost feels like that was somebody playing with it and like testing the waters, because it doesn't really have anything to do with the rest of everything. So I'm like, okay, they bought a bunch of Marvel and dumped a bunch of Marvel. And what does that have to do with AI? Or maybe it does, but honestly, I don't really get the impression that that's the case. I think it's like almost like before it launched is more of the impression I get. So anyway, something to watch. I have not personally heard of somebody else that's sort of a name like this that we are aware of who's done, a hedge fund or something like this, where they've said, hey, if you like what he wrote about in situational awareness, if you feel like Leopold in his wisdom understands the AI space perhaps better than you do, collectively, you, not us on the show, then perhaps you want to follow along with the way he's thinking about investing. So I just found it interesting. But you can go and sort of, with a couple different website searches. I went to whalewisdom.com, which I never heard of, and looked up the situational awareness LP. So if you want to play around and go look and see what has been invested in and such, that's where you can find it. But I found that interesting. If nothing else.
Do you know if it's accessible by retail customers? Essentially, like public people can invest in the fund.
Well, then see, now you're asking me questions that are above my.
Okay, no worries.
I don't know how hedge funds work per se to tell you whether that means that anybody can invest in it or not. All I can tell you is it's got.
Usually there's either some actual legal block, or like you have to be considered a real investor, which means you have to have like $300,000 worth of investments, stuff like that, or there's just an access block, a scarcity block, where it's like, oh no, we're only open to like family offices or those kinds of organizations. But
I don't know. I'm looking here to see if I can see any of those answers. I do not know on that one. So something to, if nothing else, you could at least see what they're investing in, without necessarily needing to be part of the hedge fund. So I think that part's kind of cool. But yeah, good question, Jimmy.
Before we move on to our next story of fiery passion, I just wanted to comment on Gareth mentioning Google Storybook. So this is a release from Google Gemini that will help you develop a children's storybook, but it's also based off of a way to organize and present your information. So kind of an aspect of Notebook LM and their video presentation kind of thing. The one feature it doesn't quite have yet is to animate the images that are drawn in or generated. But as soon as it can do that and can give you an animated storybook, that's gonna spell some trouble for some companies that I know of. But we'll see how good they are. Maybe they aren't. Maybe the storybooks aren't that good. But we'll see what the future holds. Okay. So, story of fiery passion. Who has not gone yet? What have we ever? Andy. Andy's ready. Andy, what is your story of fiery passion?
NASA and Google are building Crew Medical Officer Digital Assistant, CMO-DA, which is for astronauts on long, disconnected missions to help them diagnose and treat symptoms when no doctor is available or communications to Earth is blacked out. And the multimodal tool, which includes speech, text, and images, runs independent of the internet, obviously. And so they would have to build a platform that would work on a Mars mission, for example. And And so this is a really interesting thing, I think, from my perspective, because recently, having traveled just through the hinterlands of New Hampshire, and not even GPS works. Once you get disconnected to the internet, you lose all of your connection. This is what's going to happen for various periods during long-term space missions. And this also has application then to health services in rural and remote areas, because you know what? Soon, many rural counties are not going to even have a hospital. And so, these sort of developments are really important to the purveyance of medical knowledge and diagnostic clinical reasoning, in places where you don't have even internet connection.
Sort of related, but not really AI did you see that AOL is discontinuing their dial-up internet service after 34 years?
I was actually really surprised when I heard that, because I thought they had gone away already.
Yeah. They did say that there's like in the few thousands is how they describe that user base. So this is little, it's kind of like, the last Blockbuster, right?
It does
point out what Andy is saying, which is to say I live in, the suburbs of Tampa, and fast, reliable, high speed, fiber optic internet is like sort of a foregone conclusion. It would be weird for me to be in a house in this area and not have that. It would seem odd, but you're right, Andy. Like, it doesn't take long. I would not have to drive far for that just to simply not be the case. And then you're relying on things like Starlink and other things. I have family that live in the mountains in North Carolina, Tennessee, and they do during COVID and stuff like that. They were fully reliant on Starlink and stuff to do that in order to get quality internet. And actually, from what they said, not only does the cost come way down, but it's also gotten a lot better. It's more comparable to broadband. But it's just a good point to yes, there's still people using AOL dial-up, even though it might seem like the rest of the world has moved on. And especially once you get outside the borders of the US, you find out very quickly as soon as you travel that, FiOS or high-speed broadband is not just a given in most of the world. It's the opposite of that. It's just that, in our bubble, we typically are used to that here, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of technology or telecommunication differences. Like a few years ago when I traveled to Europe, they had just switched over to a unified service where no matter what actual service you had, you could communicate in that other country. We take that for granted. It doesn't matter if you have Verizon or T-Mobile or whoever, you're going to be able to, travel around the country. But you literally had to switch out SIM cards. And this was maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago. But I digress. I did want to weave off of Andy, your story bit, and this might be a larger story that we can talk about for a show, but talking about smaller models on premises or on-prem and or localized and off-grid communications. Which single board computing is making huge inroads into running your own models and things like that. I think that's a larger show. But this one story is coming in from Cohere, one of the big enterprise AI companies. And what they've designed is an enterprise AI called North. And what North is supposed to do is it's supposed to be an on-prem AI for your enterprise. So to maximize privacy, IP controls, compliances, and all those kinds of things, you can use North. And it is so compact that they say that you can run it on a machine with 2 GPUs. That is amazingly small for an enterprise grade type of AI. This is supposed to be something that can compete with a foundational AI. So you don't have to send your data out. You can have it all local on-prem. Now,
Yeah.
how well that functions, I don't know yet, but that's a pretty big announcement in my eyes.
There's some major Canadian companies that are using it, like I think Bell. Bell can't. Bell. I think Rogers or TELUS. These are like the Canadian telephone carrier companies. RBC, which is a bank. Obviously, the question you have is how capable is Cohere's models? Like they have, when you run it against the benchmarks, it's definitely below the major ones. And then having seen the demo of this, and I really tried to get on their, I think, alpha program or whatever. I just never got in. I think some of the things that they were talking about would be comparable to tools like a Relevance or a Cassidy, that it's kind of built in the system. But I'm curious to know, would you build something like that, or would you use an open source model and build your own? Right? You could probably use a Mistral. You could probably use OpenAI's
Right.
OSS. Like, what is the comparison there? But I guess
I mean, it could just be the maintenance or the support that Cohere could provide you.
Yes.
And that would be a retainer, contract kind of thing or whatnot. But what I really find interesting about this move is, so there was a recent paper that came out from NVIDIA that talked about how the smaller hyper-focused models are going to be the future. There's long tail on those, and you'll get the better performance out of them because they're focused on what the one thing that they're trying to do, and you get better results from the smaller model. And then that collection of models is going to give you, whatever your functions or tasks or whatnot. So this announcement of North is kind of reinforcing that idea that your army of smaller, fine-tuned or, focus-trained models are going to do better for you, because you won't need necessarily a giant data center like the foundational models to do all of those work. So instead of a general model for everything, you have a specific smaller model for each component or aspect that you're trying to do. So I want to see where this kind of goes, and yes, I would love to get my hands on it just to see what kind of things that they're trying to push with it.
I do have just really quick follow up to our previous conversation. We talked about like what could you do from not a pro account, from just a plus ChatGPT account. ChatGPT 5 is actually really good, obviously, about quick programming. And here's just an example of that. Basically, I asked ChatGPT 5, hey, go back through 2025 and put together an interactive mind map of all the AI topics that I work on. This is from my personal account. And I think it's actually pretty cool, because not only can I zoom in and look at different ways that things are interacted, if I hover over it, it'll actually give me a little extra information on any particular one of them. So like copyright and IP, training data questions, style, fair use. And then I actually can come over here on the right-hand side, and then I can just isolate like use cases on it, which are making them disappear. So I can do like the interlinks between things. I can look at different bridges. I can put things back. I can look at just use cases in there. So, just an interesting way that you can interact with your own data. Maybe it's not exactly what Carl is saying, but, for people who want to kind of play around with, there's the Daily AI show and all the stuff, news recaps, conundrums, did you knows, visuals, all the stuff that I'm working on for the Daily AI show, and how that's connected to voice agent pilots and N8N automations and stuff like that. So, just different.
Bye, Brian.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know what it is? I tried to take off the screen. I'm so sorry.
Gotcha.
I tried to remove the screen share and I removed me instead. So I was just saying.
So Brian,
just the way that you can work with it.
So what was the data corpus that got ingested by GPT-5 in doing that, or are you in the pro account as well that can look
No.
at all of your chats?
No, I'm in the plus account, and I literally say, hey, GPT-5, go back and look at everything that I've dealt with AI in 2025 and create me an interactive mind map. And that's what it created.
Nice.
That's so strange because it just in this session, I asked it to reference a prior chat and it couldn't do it.
Well, you asked it to reproduce the information, right? Not just ask about the information itself.
I asked it to bring the information into this thread. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be a semantics thing, but I don't know.
I'll have to experiment more. I'll try what you did. You just asked it to create a visualization of the different topical spaces that you've covered in your
literally my
dialogue.
prompt is, I just want maybe an interactive dashboard, because the first thing it gave me was weird. An interactive dashboard that shows maybe all the different AI topics and how they are connected in 2025, maybe a cool 3D mind map. And that it took 28 seconds and it built it. Actually gave it to me as a launch a 3D mind map as an HTML, which I found interesting. It didn't launch it in a side panel. It just gave me the HTML. When I clicked it, it opened up a new tab for the browser. And then I was interacting with it there, could rotate it, interact or whatever. Yeah, I just find it interesting. You know, sometimes it's interesting to go back and see the kind of things that you're working on or whatever. So it could be of use, but I think it's one of those things that is probably going to be a lot better with GPT-5. And so it's worth testing that if you haven't tested it previously with other models. My guess is GPT-5 is going to crush that a lot harder than some of the previous models.
Right. Okay, well, before we wrap for today, and I bring in my AI and science story, does anybody have any other stories that they want to make sure we cover today? And for all of us joining live, we will dump all of the URLs and what we're looking at into the community after the show. Okay, so
just one quick.
Yeah, go for it. Go.
Kind of going back to the Walmart one. So Airbnb is going to have, like, their CEO says it's going to be the AI first app. So Airbnb is going to be an AI first app with agents that can book trips for you. Also going back to a little bit to my point, it's like, will I use Airbnb for their AI to book trips, or will I use my own AI to go to be an Airbnb and book trips for me? So just kind of added, because I feel like that's becoming more and more and more each company. Will I use their tool, or will I just use my own and book it for myself?
Yeah, ideally, I would like to see it as they're offering their AI to help transition those users who are moving to having their own. And once everyone has their own AI, then it'll be communication between the two AIs instead of trying to force a situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's wrap up. Oh, you got one, Beth. Nope, I cannot hear you. Sorry. No, nothing at all. Sorry about that. Okay. So we'll, if you can fix that before we close up, great. No? Okay. Then we'll close off with my AI in science stories. AI in science. Okay, so there are 3 stories essentially that I want to make sure we cover. Number one was some research done from University of Florida, and they interviewed about 1,100 professionals about AI use in professional emails. Right, tons of emails are set. Corporate is all about the email communication, has been for years. What they discovered is that when a supervisor or leadership overly uses AI to generate the emails, the employees tend to see it as insincere, especially for things like, here's a congratulation email. It doesn't seem sincere because you used AI to generate it. You're not actually writing a heartfelt thank you to everybody and all of their hard work. You're just using AI to, spit out an email. Now, when it comes to things that don't have that nature, it's the run-of-the-mill communications or isn't overly usage of AI for all emails or for the vast majority of their emails, that tends to be respected as professional, and the quality of the emails are perfectly fine. So I think a lot of this might have to be around perception and intent, but it is something interesting to note on how you're going to implement your AI implementation for email use or other aspects of your business operations. The other story I have here, or my second story, is the AI Cyber Challenge from DARPA. So what this was they had it at DEF CON 2025. If you don't know, DEF CON's a big cybersecurity privacy convention. Really, they've been having it for decades now. But what really comes out of it is a great way to show what the state of the art in cybersecurity is, but also highlight where some of the big potential pitfalls or problems or holes or gaps in the internet security, things like that. And so DARPA created this AI Cyber Challenge for organizations to create AI-powered cybersecurity to find these gaps, to find these security holes, and be able to patch them and things like that. And so it was 70. They created 70 synthetic issues, right? So that the AIs that are created could find them out. The winner, there's 3 winners, and first place went to an organization from Atlanta that their AI found 54 of the 70, which in the cybersecurity world, that's a huge jump. That's a huge jump in the AI from the AI space, because there's been kind of lacking. There's been some enterprises that have tried to build up more and more more cybersecurity, but that's been slower to uptake over the last couple of years. But this looks like a real move forward. And DARPA gave out prizes of like 4 million, 2 or 3 million, and 1.5 million for the top 3. So this is a great jump in terms of AI first or AI native cybersecurity applications, and DARPA's looking to see how this can be integrated into the everyday, or transition into our infrastructure and stuff like that. A side note before I jump onto the final one is that as part of the tool sweep, beyond the 70 issues that synthetic issues where they created them, they actually found 18 actual security issues with the suite of tools that they were searching. So they were nice enough to just go, hey guys, these are some holes in your stuff, you might want to fix them. So that's sort of what the white hat community has done, is if they do find something, they let you know so that you can patch it, and this will help us have a more secure internet overall. And finally, the AI and science story that I find the most interesting is an article that I found on Nature called STGPIN, a spatiotemporal graph physics-informed neural network for enhanced water quality prediction in water distribution systems. And so, all research articles and research papers are going to have complicated titles like this, but essentially it is a AI model that will help water distribution systems, or WDSs, to continuously monitor and assess water quality, and which will allow for detection of potential contaminants. They can then mitigate risks and respond to any emergencies. This will help to maintain the chlorine residual concentrations, and can prevent pollution, even in transporting water. So come to the things of why this is really important is that what it allows us to do is just maintain our water quality systems at a higher degree, right? We put so much into our water systems now to being able to detect any kind of pollutants and then take action, especially in emergency situations, will just keep is just a big win-win for everybody involved. Now, what I'm really hoping from this technology, though, is it could have larger applications because of this architecture. It could develop for other spatial temporal prediction tasks. So things like traffic monitoring, disease spread, and weather forecasting. So while this basis is for water treatment, this could be expanded into any of these really large monitoring systems that we need to do for prediction. It's a larger prediction model and things like that. So that was the big science story that I wanted to cover this week. And I see it as a collective AI for good. Okay. So we definitely ran over for a little more time than we normally. But I want to thank all the folks in chat for joining us, our viewers and subscribers. And remember to continue the discussion in our Slack community. Head over to the dailyaishowcommunity.com to sign up. And we'll see you both for Thursday and Friday. Thursday, Carl's going to lead us in a show topic about East versus West. Why do cultures see AI so differently? And then Friday is all going to be about our GPT-5 use cases. It's going to be our Be About It show. And we're going to talk about how we are using GPT-5 and how others are using GPT-5. And we will definitely dive down that rabbit hole and see what we find out. So again, thank you everybody for joining us, and aloha.